So today I've got Gary Green again. Now, I've spoken with Gary a couple of times on Spinach TV, but I really, I find Gary's insights so interesting. And especially over the last couple of years that we've gone through, so much change has come to us. Gary is from Quantum. Now, I'm going to read Gary's elevator pitch. Quantum help businesses to power up growth, productivity, and profitability through a combination of innovative and disruptive thinking and pragmatic technology implementation, which I think is pretty exciting. And the mission statement that Gary's just told me to give ANZ organisations back 5 million hours of productivity by 2025. So I really want to dig into those things with you, Gary. What sorts of, first of all, thank you for taking this time again to sit with me.
Yeah, thanks, Gemma. It's great to be on Spinach TV again.
Yeah, well, I wanted to learn more about what sort of challenges are you seeing organisations facing in New Zealand and Australia at the moment?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because it's obviously with the challenge of COVID, we saw a big shift of obviously people into lockdown and remote working, dispersed working. And then also we saw a kind of sort of bigger organisations where they'd outsourced to India and other countries that started to onshore that work because of the fragility of the infrastructure overseas. So we saw a kind of push to onshoring. We're seeing that kind of work still retain, and there's an appetite for nearshoring, which has helped us with our push into Australia because it's obviously we're a nearshore provider of automation solutions. But it's that thing of going that businesses are now thinking more about how they need to be agile, innovative, and move more quickly. And that the world has changed. The pre-COVID world doesn't exist anymore. So it's that hybrid workforce of in the office remotely. And that actually means that you're not limited geographically for where your labour needs to be, or that you've got to be in the office. So it actually starts to drive some more interesting models because you can actually source your labour from further afield and get or integrate best of breed around that. But also that great resignation's created problems. We've got a global challenge of trying to access talent, and we've got obviously compounded by lockdowns and immigration restrictions have restricted the flow of talent into New Zealand. So businesses are crying out for talent. We did a survey a few months ago, and it was the number one risk for businesses accessing talent, closely followed by supply chain and getting other resources. And you look at global surveys, it's still there. New Zealand's competing globally for that talent. And the government, obviously, there's stuff that can be done to speed that up and increase access, but it does take time. I've tried to be too political. So what we found as well in our survey that businesses have tried everything conventionally possible, and businesses are looking to more innovative solutions. They're now looking at going, okay, productivity is key. How do we make our organisation and people more productive? But also going, things like digital workers, software robots, use them, actually shift what work is being done where and rejig what that is. And it's not a case of the robots are coming to take people's jobs. It's the robots are there to augment and support organizations because there's not enough talent to do the work. And again, to retain talents, you've got to give people interesting work and they've got to be satisfied in what they do. And there's a whole host of factors that make people happy in work and stay. But having them do manual data entry or mundane stuff that just doesn't interest them is a good way to see them go out the door. And it's interesting, we've got a client, Timber Baron, that we work closely with, Daniel, Phil and the team, and they brought a software robot on board to basically as a staff retention tool because they had people doing really mundane activity across the business. And they brought the robot in, nicknamed him Robert. And they had people in the business actually didn't know that Robert was a robot. And they said, I've never seen this guy, Robert. What's he look like? What's he doing? And then they realized it was a robot. And they basically offloaded all the manual order processing stuff. It's moving stuff between spreadsheets and systems and all these workarounds they're doing. They got the bot to do it. And they put people into higher value, actually customer engagement and sales activity. It was great for retention. Unfortunately, they did lose one person, and they actually, what was useful because they had the bot working, they said, do we hire someone and it's going to take us months and months and months to get someone, and do we get the right person or not, and what do we have to pay them because salaries are all going up? We had some additional skills to the bot. So the team had a chat, and they basically, actually it's more cost effective to get Robert to do more And of course, Robert will work 24/7. He was working so many hours a day, so they used the extra capacity, added some additional skills, and rather than recruit, they actually, increased what the robot did for them.
Wow.
So
wow. What is a robot or a digital worker?
So yeah, I mean, we hear a lot about this. I mean, there's obviously physical robots like fruit picking robots that you get, and you see them around farms, and there's a lot of work going there to actually, because there's a shortage of labour there, are using physical robots in manual tasks and activities. But this is in the services industries, back office and front office. What you can do is that software robot's a piece of code that actually it behaves like a person. You'll give it logons like a person, and you train it to do the tasks that people are doing, and it can go between systems. One where you can go in, it can log on, and it's like a ghost in the machine. You see the kind of on the screen typing coming up. If you run it in that mode, you can see it go into systems, get data, pull it into stuff, manipulate and do what it needs to the data, do the outputs. So you can train it like a person. And the beauty of that is that you don't have to deconstruct or interfere with existing systems you've got. It's using the existing logins, graphical user interfaces. So it's really quick to put in. So for example, in Timber we had the first prototype running within 5 days. The worker was trained and doing the basic work, and then we enhanced it over 2 or 3 more weeks to get it to the full capability they wanted. And I guess the beauty of that is that you can actually deploy software robot worker quicker than you can recruit someone. Because if you think you've got a gap, you've got to advertise it, you've got to shortlist it, you've got to go through all the hassle around that. Then someone, if they accept your offer and don't haggle you up, they're then going, you've then got to give a month's notice, possibly 2. So you're probably 2 months down, where you're going, actually in a matter of days, you can actually get a software robot deployed and doing the work. And equally, if the work increases, you can clone the robot. You clone it, you can increase the capacity virtually instantly. So hugely powerful, but it's just a kind of new way of businesses that are traditionally just throwing people at it. You're going, actually, what's the best way of doing this? Is it throw a digital worker at it? Is it use a tailored piece of software? Is it use a person? And so, we've seen, working with Timber Baron, it opened our eyes into a part of the market we'd not seen before, because when we started our business, we were dealing with the enterprises, the major banks, the DHBs, big insurance companies, utilities. And we did some mid-sized businesses, but working with a kind of company that's 15, 20 people, part of a bigger organization is about 80. It's suddenly going that we've seen that this technology is democratized, in that the price point has come down, and the ability to deploy it really quickly and really cost effectively means that for SMEs, it's just opened up the power of what was, the enterprise domain 3 years ago. So there's huge productivity gains to be had in that. And I guess it's that thing of we've hit the crisis of getting people, and this probably isn't going to improve, because certainly if the Australian government changes the citizenship rules for Australia and New Zealand citizens, and the decisions expected around Anzac Day, it's going to give Kiwis equal rights. It's going to actually stop net migration from Australia. It's actually probably going to encourage a net emigration to Australia. So our kind of ability to get talent and retain talent in country is going to get worse over the next few years. So it's, we're seeing that organizations are looking at different ways of doing this. It's the only way they're going to actually be able to prosper and thrive, is to look after the most valuable assets of their people, put them into higher value areas, but actually augment it with technology, automation technologies, AIs and stuff, to do a lot of the stuff you would do manually before. And again, I guess as well, with economic headwinds, the kind of organizations are looking at more cost-effective ways of doing what they're doing as well.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut on you there. I wanted to know what sorts of things they can automate.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen is that generic bots can be tailored to organizations' operations, so they can kind of work on their sales order processing, opening accounts for their customers, customer onboarding, dealing with administrative tasks such as address changes and contact details changes, It can work on invoice processing, HR onboarding, data entry, and again, a lot of the stuff where people have used people to interface between core systems or suppliers or customers. It can do all of that. You can augment, like I say, you can put in smarter. You can add effectively skills as you go to actually make them smarter and do more. Decisioning, linked to your data, so you got actual analytics and help you augment your decision making. And then we've also seen that you can have specialist bots. So, for example, finance accounting companies, the big four use bots in the background, the volume, but now you can put it into smaller accounting practices that they can actually automate a lot of the mundane stuff, because they do a lot of data entry or data collection, or going to IRD sites to get information or other sites to get information. And so they're kind of, junior accountants or clerks spend a lot of time just gathering data. You can swing the pendulum, the needle the other way, and actually automatically gather the information so they can do the analysis and advice, rather than 80% of the time spent on that, rather than gathering the data. And again, we've got in medical practices, we've got bots that are actually pulling information and together from sources to present to medical staff as well, so that they're not high value medical staff aren't data collectors or data gatherers, they're actually decision makers. HR functions as well, a lot of stuff in there, ICT support functions in organizations, and contact center, bots are in there that can help agents as well. So they're kind of, it's only your imagination that stops this. So
that's amazing. I'm a little bit comforted knowing that Robert isn't actually sitting on a seat on the keyboard having coffees with people, because that's next level, isn't it? When you're replacing some of the humanoid functions with the robot, at least you can't see the robot. Sorry, this is just a totally different way of thinking than happens in my day-to-day, and it's just so fascinating. And so if somebody wants to put a bot into their organization, how do they get started? You've mentioned it's incredibly fast to train the bots, but do you have to know what you're trying to optimize, or is it, is that something that you guys can
that's it, because often when conversation starts, I've go that people have got a real pain point, and we go, okay, let's have a look at that. Oh yeah, you can use a bot, or going, and it's normally the pain point is symptomatic of something else. So we lift the lid and go, actually, if you were to do this, you could run a bot along this, or look at that process you're running in your business. It's pretty easy to do that. So, it's really kind of, we're happy to kind of have a look at things. It's really looking at where you've got manual activity or repetitive processes or pain points, or you see an opportunity to do things better. It's just being, it's not being accepting the status quo that it's always been done that way, we're doing it that way. Because there's, like I said, there's these smart technologies that can help to actually make your business a lot more productive. And so it's as easy as we've created basically a quick survey as well that people can do of what's your automation potential. So it goes through a few questions, about 10 questions and it comes out with a score of, if you're already down the route, you're pretty mature. So it says, great, here's a few things. But if you're at the lower end of mature, it says, actually, there's a few things you can do here that could help you. And then, it's always, chat to us as well, because we can then, have a look at what the issue is or what the opportunity is, come up with a quick recommendation, and then the team will really, work hand in glove with businesses and SMEs to basically rapidly develop a prototype. We use our kind of LARI, which is Lean Agile Robotic Implementation methodology, which is really, which actually just we've developed over many years. I mean, this is the benefit of, we developed that with the enterprises of how you can rapidly deliver this. And it's with SMEs, decision making is a lot quicker, decision makers closer to the work face. So this is why you can do it in days to actually get a minimum viable product out and do the enhancements. And it's really cost effective, because in the past, these were run as projects where you're going to pay a lump sum and a license and support. So we bundled everything together, and we run it as basically, from $1,500 a month, you can have a bot running, and that becomes, really effective. It's a monthly fee. We've basically flattened a kind of lump of cost and spread it over a number of months. So, because we found that businesses, they need the benefit now, but don't necessarily need a spike of cash flow out of the business. They need to get that benefit as money comes in. So we've kind of rethought the whole model of how we can actually get automation to the masses really quickly and really cost effectively, so that businesses can really kind of accelerate what they need to do, and differentiate themselves on customer experience, increase productivity, control the costs.
That sounds amazing from a layperson's perspective. When imagining the automation possibilities, my imagination is very limited. And so knowing that you have a pain point and there's a potential solution and you don't have to know what it is to go looking for it, people like Quantum can actually come in with their disruptive ways of thinking and look at it with fresh eyes and say, these are the possibilities. You just need to know you want it done better. And then Quantum can see the opportunities for what that can be. But also the way that you've described how to make it more accessible with the payment structures and things makes it, for the SME market, just so attainable. Both in not having to know what it is that you want and in the payment structure.
Even Ella, you don't. It's that thing of, it's a male thing we try and solutioneer, where you're going, actually, I've got this problem. You don't have to come up with a solution. It's going, there's ways of doing this that's conventional and maybe actually, like say, leveraging, technology and like innovative thinking around it. And it's just that, like say, working with yourself, working with other SMEs, it's just, we've very much taken an experimentation approach and, like say, developed something and tested it and iterated it. And we continue to do that because that's part of also with like the disruption that's happening with multiple technologies coming in that business is going to be agile, but it's not this trying to find a perfect solution. It's getting something that works and iteratively improve it. We can't always, no one's got the luxury of the amount of time or money you need for the perfect solution.
About making that start. And I think a big part is actually the mindset to being open to such a drastic change, rather than, this person's leaving, I need to go find a replacement. Actually, it's a big mindset shift to being open to something completely new that you haven't done before, and having the confidence to start that conversation and figure out what the opportunities are.
Definitely.
Well, I think that's just so exciting. I think it's fascinating talking to someone, because obviously my industry is fairly dry and fairly predictable, and so talking to someone who's in such just an innovative space is really exciting. But I'm going to leave contact information for Gary and for Quantum, so that if you want to figure out how to really maximize all their skills and expertise for the benefit of your business, and I'm going to go over that mission statement again, which is to give ANZ organisations back 5 million productivity hours per year by 2025. That's just such a massive goal, and it can obviously impact your business as well if you want to seize the opportunity. So go through to Gary and see what they can do for you. But Gary, thank you so much for taking the time again to talk with me. I'd love to meet Robert.
Thanks, Gemma. Interesting thing is, every organisation we work with has called the robot, has named the robot, because it's their way of saying, we've got this awful job and it's a job for Campbell or Veronica or Nautilus or whatever. And everyone's going, and it becomes a kind of catchphrase of going, it's not throw it to the intern or whoever, which you don't want to kind of overload them. It's actually, the robot doesn't mind. It's like the robot. The hospital pass to the robot.
I just have all these sci-fi images going through my head of I'm glad that it's a little bit more not that advanced yet. But I'll leave some links for Gary and go direct, get that conversation started and see if you can scrap some of those productivity hours he's given away.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Thank you.